What is up, you guys? In today's video, we're going to talk about why most woodworkers stay broke even if they're busy. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome back. I'm so excited that you're here as always. I'm your host, Zach Vaught, and if you don't know anything about me, I started my woodworking business back in my garage in 2017, had no idea what I was doing from a business standpoint, was just a pretty decent woodworker, and really kind of struggled to gain traction with the business. It was only after I started studying business principles that I really started growing that business and eventually got to the point where we had a 6,600 square foot shop, a showroom, team of 7 or 8 employees. All the while I was a full-time pastor. We were doing over $75,000 a month on average, where I sold that business back in 2024. And so if you do know my story and you had to hear that for the 100th time, I do apologize. But in this video, I want to walk you through why most woodworkers stay broke, why most custom furniture makers stay broke, even if they're busy, even if they are working and have orders and they have stuff going on, but they're not profitable, they're not making money. And so I've got several points that I want to work through. So we're going to move quickly through this. So number one, the first reason that most woodworkers stay broke is because they confuse activity with profitability. A quote that changed my life. I heard it from some old country boy, but he looked at me one day and I had just started my custom furniture business. I was working probably 10 to 12 hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week, just trying to get this thing off the ground. And I was stuck. I was the epitome of this video title. I was broke even when I was busy. And he said, "Well, son, you can go broke sitting on the couch." This old country guy told me that, and it just changed the way that I thought. Because if you're not going to make money, like if that is the outcome that we're going to have, where I don't make any money, there are way more enjoyable ways to do it than working yourself to the bone. So if we're going to work, let's work to be profitable, okay? Don't confuse activity with profitability. A lot of woodworkers judge their success by how full their shop is, how many orders they have in their stack of invoices, and how slammed they are. You can be fully booked and barely making any money because you don't understand margins. You're not priced correctly. You're quoting a bunch of the wrong types of jobs, treading water. You're staying in the same place. You might be even losing money. Busy can actually hide bad math. That's one of the things that I want to say. Busy will give you a sense of purpose, a sense of progress. But if there's a foundation of bad math, you're not going to get anywhere near as far as you would hope to get. Here's what that bad math looks like. Underpriced. You got too many revisions, you're redoing too much stuff, or too much custom one-off work that you're learning as you go every single time that you build a new project. This is one of the main things that I realized is like, I can't learn how to build something for the first time every time. Like if that is what this feels like over and over and over and over and over, I'm constantly going to misjudge how much labor is actually in it. I'm going to be constantly in a bind, right? And so being busy is not a business model. So if you are building your brand or your ego on, man, I'm so busy, that's not the right idea. Now, if you're busy and you're just stacking cash, keep doing what you're doing. But if you're busy and you feel like, man, I feel like there should be more money in the account. I feel like we should be further along than we're supposed to. It's probably because you've put too much emphasis on staying busy and not enough on being profitable. Point number two, and this is why most woodworkers stay broke again, is that their pricing is based on feelings instead of math. Okay, most beginners price based on what they think a customer will pay instead of what they should be charging based on their costs. I'm guilty of this too. And one of the biggest ways that we're guilty of this, in our minds, we think I would never pay more than insert number for said item, right? If it's like a custom table, I would never pay more than $1,000 for a custom tables. Therefore, we're building $3,000 tables and we're afraid to ask $3,000 for them because we think, well, I would never spend that. That is one of the most foolish mistakes that you can make. One of the things that really helped me, and hopefully this will help you guys too, I was building custom furniture out of my garage and I was selling it cheap, right? I'm trying to get table sales for $600 to $800 a piece. I'm grossly undercharging because of multiple reasons. But that was kind of where I was. And I made a connection with a guy that had a showroom at the Dallas Trade Center, right? So the Dallas Trade Center is where interior designers from all over the world fly into twice a year, or buyers for major companies. They come in, they look at all the products that are available and they buy. Well, he owned a showroom and I walked into his showroom and I looked and he had a table that was it was a very nice table. Based on what I would have thought, I was like, man, that's probably a $5,000 table. It's like a live edge table with metal legs. Like, man, that's probably a $5,000 table. I walk over and I look and the price tag on this table is $22,000. My brain almost exploded. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I would never pay $22,000 for that table. That's crazy. I walk up to a chandelier and I'm like, man, that's a cool chandelier. It's like a $7,000 chandelier. And I'm like, that is insane. I walk over to this other couch that was like tufted in some type of really cool, luxurious looking covering. And I'm like, well, that's nice. No telling how much this thing is. It was like 16 grand for a couch. Everything in here is 4 times what I would pay for it. Well, then I also get to see interior designer after interior designer after interior designer walking in, sitting down and writing $100,000 orders, $60,000 orders, $150,000 orders, $25,000 orders for their clients, high net worth people all over the globe. And it just unlocked this idea in my mind that there are a lot of people that are out there that will pay good money for good products. And it just helped me unlock this idea that I don't have to stay in this place where I have to underprice everything in order to sell it. I can price it where I need to price it and make money doing it. Because there are people, if I position my brand and I position the product the right way, there are people that are going to be attracted to that and be willing to pay that money for it. And so you cannot price based off of feelings or what you think someone is going to pay, or by what your competition is charging. This is where I talk to guys all the time on the phone that are interested in the Woodworking Accelerator program, and they're like, yeah, well, everybody around here has a drill. Everyone's selling tables for $500 on Marketplace. How am I supposed to compete with that? You're not. You're not supposed to compete with it. You're supposed to be the premium option. You're supposed to be the brand that everyone goes to when they're tired of dealing with crappy businesses and crappy people that don't know how to run businesses. That's how you position yourself. You don't compete based on price. If you're only competing based on price, you do not know business. If you're pricing based on what you think a customer's going to pay, what local shops around you are charging, what feels fair, or around your own insecurities, you're always going to be underpriced. So instead, you should really look at your labor costs and your material costs, and you should have a formula for pricing accordingly. You should be looking at your overhead. You should be saying, how much is my rent? What's my electricity? Do I have employees that I have to pay? Do I have insurance? You should be looking at your overhead. You should be actually setting a profitability level. I want to make 30% profit or 40% profit or 50% profit on these projects, as long as it aligns with the product and the customer. If your pricing doesn't protect your profit, your craft will keep you broke. You will stay in something that keeps you broke. You may have a big sense of pride around your skill set, around what you're able to do, but if you don't fix your pricing, you're going to be the brokest, most gifted craftsman in your area. Don't do that, okay? Number 3, this is the third reason why most woodworkers stay broke, and that is that they sell random projects instead of a clear offer. And again, we all start because we don't know any better in our woodworking journey is, hey, I'm a woodworker. I can build anything, because as soon as you can build a table, you can build anything else. The woodworking skills kind of translate across multiple products, across all kinds of different things. And so you think, doesn't it make sense that me being able to make anything and promoting that and marketing that, and I would be able to capture the greatest number of clients? Well, here's the deal, homeboy or homegirl. If you're selling custom furniture, and let's say your custom furniture is $3,000 to $5,000 every time that you sell it, big tables, whatever, let's just use that as a round example, which is pretty much the average for our clients inside of the Woodworking Accelerator program. You need 2 clients to do between $6,000 and $10,000 a month. You need 4 clients to do between $12,000 and $20,000 a month. You need 8 clients to do 40 grand a month. You don't need to sell to a bunch of people. You don't need to have this broad, I can do anything, I can do anything you want. As you focus in on something and as you become a specialist, you're going to attract the right people to that offer. They're going to be willing to pay more money because you're a specialist in that thing. Many woodworkers are running a quote everything business. Every single project is completely different from the last one. Every customer is completely different from the last one. Every price is wildly different. And this makes sales harder because the sales process is different for all these people. This makes cash flow unpredictable. You don't know when you're going to get the next order, what it's going to be, what that's going to look like. Marketing is almost impossible because you can market 100 different things. So what should you actually focus on? And so the broke trap is being talented but acting chaotic. If you're super gifted, which many of you are that are watching this video right now, you're good at woodworking, you build a solid product, but you're all over the place, you're going to stay broke. You have to fight that belief that I need to be all things to all men. You do not. You need to focus on one thing, become known for it, market it, create a sales process for that one thing, and just do it over and over and over and over and over. What we need in order to win when it comes to selling random projects all the time, we need a core set of products. these are the things that I build. This is what I have to offer. I'm open to check out if you have any other project or something that's not these exact products, but you have the freedom to say no to that. We have clear pricing. Okay, so we know what stuff's going to be priced based on length, width, color, design, style. We create a clear pricing model. With that, it's going to allow us to win. It's going to eliminate the chaos inside of our business, and it's going to get us out of the broke trap. Okay. Number 4, woodworkers stay broke because they trade their time for money and they never build leverage into their business. You leave your W-2 job because you hate working for somebody else, and instead now you just work for customers. The only way to make money is if you're in the shop. If you're not in the shop, you're not making money. So you're still just trading your time for money. You don't have any leverage. If you're the only production bottleneck, your income is always going to be capped. You'll always only be able to make X amount of dollars because you have no leverage. You don't have anybody else in the business. You don't have any software or any systems or any media or any capital that's working for you. It's just, I got to get up and go work. Most woodworkers do not delegate. They do not systemize. They do not standardize. And because of that, you're the lid. You are going to be the bottleneck to the business. You're the bottleneck to your income. You'll make more money by giving away responsibility. If your business only makes money when you're in the shop, you don't own a business, you own a job. And for 90% of custom furniture makers or woodworkers, this is the case. And also, by the way, if you're watching this and you're like, Zach, I don't have any desire to have employees. I don't have any desire to do $50,000 a month. I don't have any desire. I just want to be a solo guy. I just want to do my thing in my shop. I want people to leave me alone. I don't want to have to talk to people. Well, you probably need to find somebody that can help you with sales, but then just do your thing. Just because I'm talking about something doesn't mean that it has to become your vision for your business. There's nothing wrong with that. Just so you know, like if you just want to be a solo guy and do your thing, then do it. But understand that you are always going to be the lid to your earning potential. If you want to make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, or if you want to bring home $20,000 a month, you're going to have a business that does 50 to 60 grand a month or more, right? And so that's just super, super, super important. Okay. Number 5, the 5th reason that woodworkers stay broke is that they are constantly just selling in the wrong environment. And I talked about this briefly earlier, but if you're only selling on marketplace, if you're only selling at flea markets, if you're only selling in places where people with lower income travel or shop, you're always going to feel like you're constrained by their budgets. If you create a brand and create products that are attractive in higher level environments, what I mean by that, in showrooms, in other furniture stores, if you're running paid ads from a legitimate business Facebook page, you're going to attract higher quality buyers. One thing just to say is that does not mean that's 100%. Only you're going to attract high quality buyers. You're still going to have people walk into your shop that don't have any money. You're still going to have people that click on your ads that don't have any money, right? That still happens, but you're getting in front of more people that have better budgets, have more disposable income, and are living on a different level financially than even we are, right? They don't blink an eye at a $10,000 table. They're like, yeah, I want live edge. I want some epoxy in it. That's exactly what I want. Let's go. There are people, and it's hard to even wrap our minds around this, but there are people that financially are not living paycheck to paycheck, that have an abundance of income every month. Right? So they don't care about the price. They care about getting exactly what they want. They want the process to be smooth, and you have to put yourself in environments where you're talking to more of these people, right? And so we want to sell in better environments. I constantly talk about this, and guys get frustrated because they're like, man, I can't compete with these people on Facebook Marketplace. Quit trying to. Sell in better environments, okay? And by the way, just so you guys know, we still sell in Marketplace. We still sell in Facebook groups. We're going to do everything that we can for all of our clients inside of the Woodworking Accelerator program. We still take advantage of those things, and we're going to get a lot of clients or leads for them through those channels that may not be able to buy at the prices that they're priced at, but you do get some that do, right? So these are not black and white 100% or 0% scenarios. As you transition to selling in better environments, you're still going to have bad leads. As you're selling in low quality environments, you still will get some big sales. But what we're talking about is the general consensus here. 70% of the time in low quality environments, you're getting low quality leads. 70% of the time in high quality environments, you're getting higher quality leads, right? The last one I've got for you here, and the reason that most woodworkers stay broke is that they just don't understand sales and marketing, so they avoid sales and marketing. A lot of woodworkers think good work is just going to sell itself. That is not the case. Not all the time. You need to take control of your marketing channels, and you need to predictably drive leads to your business. If you're only relying on word of mouth and referrals, you're constantly trusting someone else to tell their friends and family about you, which that should not be the cake. That should be the icing on the cake. The cake should be, I have a marketing system that works and brings predictability to my business, okay? But hear me when I say this. Your skills don't create demand. You being good and being unknown doesn't help you. You need to become known. You don't have enough sales because nobody knows who you are. You have an awareness problem. If you fix the awareness problem and you're a good woodworker, you will blow up in a good way. And so if you want to make money, you have to learn how to get customers on demand, not just how to make beautiful furniture. This is the last thing I'm going to leave you with, and it's so important. If you do not have control over your marketing, if you're not consistently driving leads and new opportunities to you on a daily basis, then there is a giant system that is missing inside of your business, okay? And so as we wrap this thing up, a few resources that I want to point you toward. Number one is the first link in the description below, and that is going to be to my free ebook, the Handmade Business Secrets ebook. It's about 100 pages long. If you'll just go enter your name and email, we'll send a free copy over to you. And that's really just outlining my journey of how I started and scaled my own custom furniture company and how you can take those same principles and do the same thing in yours. Number two is the Handmade Hero Academy program. It is a low-cost program for those of you that are brand new, green to business, you don't know how to get started. This is really going to help lay that foundation for you to getting those first few sales in your woodworking or your custom furniture business. And again, I say this every time, but if you sell just one thing as a result of what you learn there, it's going to more than pay for itself, okay? It's pretty low cost and it's easy access to get started, okay? And by the way, you get lifetime access. Number three is the free training that I'm offering right now for 2026. I just recorded this. It took me about a couple weeks to put this together, this training together. But how do you actually make 2026 your best year ever as a custom furniture maker or as a woodworker? Well, I've got about an hour-long free training that I want to invite you to come check out. You don't even have to opt into it. You can just click the link below and go straight to it and start watching it. And in that free training, I'm walking you through marketing principles, I'm walking you through sales principles, I'm walking you through how to run a more streamlined and efficient shop. I'm teaching you how to manage your money better. It is a full in-depth training, and at the end of it, I have a free business health assessment where I'm going to ask you questions about these different components of your business. You're going to grade them, and then I'm going to walk you through what that means. Based on how you graded yourself, what your next steps are. And so with that, I really want to invite you to check that out if you haven't yet. If this video was helpful or beneficial, or this resonated with you in any way, you can see yourself inside of these main points that I made, I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. Be sure to like it. And with that, I am all out of words. Love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.